again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of UNB Live. My name is Bob Price, alongside Upper Nicola Band Communications Officer Diana Boston. UNB Live is about you, your community, your issues. While Diana and I have been absolutely thrilled to this point with the feedback that we've received, we do have a strong hunch that you have even more to say. So we wanted to begin today with a reminder that we are all ears when it comes to interview suggestions and other topics to discuss here on UNB Live.
And Bob, I think we also need to point out that asking questions and getting prompt answers has never been easier for Upper Nicola Band members. We in the UNB Communications Department are proud of our mission statement to answer any and all questions with accurate, fact based information in the most timely way possible. I'd also like to point out that on our webpage, uppernicola.com, you'll see a feedback button under the Hawk's Wing. That will take you directly to a feedback form and you can submit your questions. And we promise to answer as soon as possible.
We have a terrific show planned for you today, and we are really looking forward to learning a lot more about one of the most pressing issues that we seem to be hearing a lot about these days. We're talking housing. UNB Housing Manager Clifford Chillihitzia is here with us today. But first, as always, we will begin with this latest UNB Live with community information, the segment we call The Rundown. All right, Diana, so plenty to get caught up on in this edition of The Rundown, including ongoing planning for the Upper Nicola General Assembly coming up.
Yes, actually, on August 21st, we are starting at 8:30 with breakfast at the health office
Mhm.
with an opening at 9. And once we have the presentation there, we will move up to the Nicola School Gym and have the remaining of the AGA there with lots of informative presentations, lots of booths, door prizes, food. So come on out on August 21st and see what Upper Nicola is all about.
We're looking forward to being there.
Yes, me and you will be there.
You know, one thing that I learned very quickly as a longtime news broadcaster is the fact that perception isn't always reality. Now, with that in mind, 12 screaming babies?
It's nothing to do with babies,
Oh,
Bob.
okay.
No babies, no babies. So what we're doing is we have a 12 seminars or little sessions, and it's going to be about natural medicines and your body. So on September 10th, from 10 a.m. to 12 at the Kustamtima Lakeview office, we will be having our, I believe it's our fourth session, and this one's going to do with the immune system. So you can learn natural medicines and natural pathways to help your immune system.
Now, even though we're going to be talking more about this very shortly, Upper Nicola Housing is still looking for some feedback related to Shia Place.
Yes, there's still a form out there for questions and additional answers that you can fill out and send to Elaine, who is Clifford's assistant. And she is also the one that takes in a lot of the forms for the housing rentals.
Well, as always, the grandmothers are keeping busy. Kustum Tima planning another baby welcoming celebration coming up next month.
Yes, actually, on a yearly basis, we have a baby welcoming ceremony, and what that is we take all the new babies, I guess, that are anywhere below 2 years old that were born in the last year to year and a half that we may have missed last year, and we are welcoming these babies to Upper Nicola Band with a little ceremony acknowledging their parents and giving the baby a little gift, and it usually has little moccasins and a homemade blanket and the custom team makes everything from hand.
So there might be some screaming babies.
There might be there, yeah.
Yeah, there
That
might.
might
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
But I mean, if you want to take your chances, you can be there September 14th at noon. It's going to be at the Civic Center.
One more, Diana, a terrific opportunity coming up for Indigenous artists to work with the company that operates the Highland Valley Copper Mine, Tech Resources.
Yeah, we have a call out in our newsletter for tech resources. They are looking for a artist to design a, I guess, like a little artwork piece to go on the September 30th Truth and
September
Recon.
27th, September 30th?
September 30th is the Truth and Reconciliation Day
Right.
and Orange Shirt Day. So they're looking to put on a design on a shirt to hand out to people in the community. So if you would like to submit artwork, it is VHO Indigenous Relations at tech.com.
Thank you, Diana. Great information as always. As you've likely heard in the news, Canada seems to have a real housing crisis at the moment, a shortage, with the home building failing to keep up with population growth in general. Just like the rest of the country, it is an ongoing concern as well for Upper Nicola. Upper Nicola is on the rise, and housing, of course, in turn, will become an issue eventually, if it isn't already. The UNB Live interview with Upper Nicola Housing Manager Clifford Chillihitzia coming up next. Welcome back to UNB Live. The good news is progress is being made, but the bad news is progress has been painstakingly slow in general.
We're talking housing on UNB Live, and so pleased to welcome UNB Housing Manager Clifford Chilhitzia.
Clifford, thank you for coming in today. And in general, where do we stand on the housing end? Are we healthy or in need?
Well, in housing, it's a really complicated thing for one. It's it's you got to be in there for a while to get to know your community. You listen to the community. Once you listen to them and you input it in, and then once you input, then you see where everybody stands as of individuals, because every individual picks up information differently and receive differently. So it's um, lot of uh, trial and errors, basically on. So, like if we talk about our Shia place,
Doing some research from a couple of years back, data. This data isn't brand new. It was from, I believe, 2022, 2023. First Nations, the number of First Nations people living on reserve, more likely in crowded housing, that over 1 in 5 First Nations people, 21% plus, some 224,000 across the country, living in crowded housing back in 2021. Uh, are we in a situation that mirrors that at all?
yeah, and actually it was earlier than that when we first got the data of with Elaine and I got together and said, okay, what it was like, how could we advertise this to see what we need? So general meetings, we came up with a um, questionnaires like what kind of housing you want, detached or um, triplex or whatever, 1 story, 2 stories, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. So all those um, so once we were gone through that, we gave that to BC Housing, and then BC Housing um, gave us uh, a format of basically how it would work if we developed new units. But
Right.
also BC Housing was there also when we're doing 2 projects at once, one for developing new housing and the one to get um, data on each address on a community,
Right.
so which is called asset planner or asset management, and it's getting information and data for each address. So then that way we could start doing 2 things at once, and because they go inclusive to each other to find out how much people were in each house, like and also reaching out to
Right.
ones that were living off reserve, when are they planning to come home, if they're planning to come home. So we had a
Yeah.
lot of um, contact with family members.
So constantly moving. What is the overall stock of housing for Upper Nicola at the moment?
Well, right now it's really depending on how the Shia place, if it find a way to bring the community members to it, because there's a format. BC Housing has a format of how they calculate rent,
Hmm.
and so and to versus doing that calculations versus having say okay, um, a one bedroom and having a certain just how much is going to be for a one bedroom versus calculation. So there's then that's how CMHC started when they first brought housing around in
Right.
the early 1980s. So I was actually in North Vancouver when they first allotted CMHC housing to the communities, and I was still in high school. So so when they started CMHC, they had a format to say, "No, okay, um, how this is how we're going to calculate the rent." And there was a lot of formula. There's a formula there for electrical, heating, wood. There's things that were thrown that were in there, and then those if you had to know the formula to deduct it to where you actually
Yeah.
come up with
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
rate of what the rent is
Right.
going to be,
Yeah.
and that it gets justified once or twice a year annually, and depending if you lose a job and depends if you gained a job.
Right.
So then that's coming back to us again with the Shia place. So right now we're doing in the calculation of 30% of your wages versus the format, whereas it's just going to be one rate or one um, number for a one bedroom, two bedroom, three bedroom, four bedroom, five bedroom versus the calculations. Um, when it comes new to some like doing calculations for rent, our community members have a difficulty time because it's something new. Just like when we first got CMHC, it was new, so
Yeah.
it was nobody understood it.
I'm assuming that the way the rental rates are calculated, that sounds to me like it's one of the most common questions you get.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things involved. You gotta basically get where your income's coming from, or
Yeah.
um your banking and all that. So there's some
It's
little bit
real.
of person
It's a real
person.
balancing act.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I got one question though. Has that since it started in the early 80s, has the format changed? Like has it always been 30% or has it gone up or down or
well, see, we're talking two different institutions. We're talking CMHC, then there's BC Housing. So they both have a different formality of how they. So CMHC ever since I don't know of any other nations, but in our nations we don't do that
Yep.
calculation no more. We said we're going to have a flat rate for one bedroom to five
Yep.
bedrooms. Then and so then it came back to life again. Now BC Housing wants that format, and where we got to come up with some to get to that one rate per unit on a one bedroom to five. We got to come up with a format that proving indicating that which one is better for our members, and the members got to
Right.
and this is where the members got to come up and say, okay, um, I don't want to be in a format where I got to have my banking information, my what
Right.
I got for the year and all that, uh, all those because you're going to be constantly doing it versus one rate per unit. I think that's what the band members got to say. Come out and say that which one would you rather prefer, and that's gonna if they prefer the flat rate, then basically we got to turn around and say, okay, tell BC Housing that this one's not gonna work for us. This is gonna work for us, but we got to prove it at how it's gonna work for us, and then after
Mhm.
because I was involved with the
Yeah.
CMHC formula before, and I had to go out and reach out to other communities that
Yeah.
had how they went with their formula.
If I'm hearing you correctly, there is a little bit of wiggle room for originality.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what we're
I think
working
that's,
on now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shia Place. I mean, that was a great day. That was a real high point. The opening day. I know you were there.
Mhm.
How did Shia Place come about?
What came about is that when Elaine and I got the trying to get the band members to put what their needs are,
Yep.
and what kind of unit they wanted, and um, and that Shia Place, to me, I call that the template.
Yep.
Because that's what kind of units we want in our community. It's health and safety.
Right.
It's everything that a home should be. So versus because CMHC and BC Housing, they develop homes differently. CMHC doesn't finish their unit up to to completely. So the unfinished basements, and then there are
Oh.
no landscaping versus BC Housing, their total package. So that's why I look at the Shia Place here is all what we need. The health and safety. You're inside your home is getting your air circulation, and that's what a lot of homes we don't have in our
Yeah.
present units right now. Is we don't have that, and that's what we were trying to hoping that's what the key is to trying to keep a healthy person is to have a healthy
So
home.
26 units at Shia Place, and the whole plan is more of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
more of them.
More of them.
So then that's when we're working right now. We're trying to work with lands to say, okay, where we could get more designated areas for our more development coming in the future.
So, how has the community responded to the 26 units?
It's to not to understand it, it's frustrating, and because you're giving information out that you never gave out before, you because it's kind of more like a personal, So like if I have to give out bank information,
Mhm.
so like, well, I don't want to know tell you where,
So there's some reservations.
Yeah, so that's the
Yeah.
most difficult part we're having.
Has it resulted in units being unoccupied yet?
It's probably one of the reasons why, because right now we have 10 out of 26. So then it's the 10 that are there, it's not 100% agreeable to this scenario,
Right.
but it's it's a home, it's a
Mhm.
roof over their head.
Yeah.
Where the other place, wherever they were before. So it's the ones that were, say, put it back to opening house. There's a really eye opener. That's the biggest thing is when 6 years, 7 years ago, we developed 6 homes and we had an open house, because the reason why to have an open house is for every community member to try to have an opportunity to go in these houses to look before somebody lives in there. Because when somebody lives in there,
Yep.
then you're limited to how many people can come to your home.
Right.
Yes. And as mentioned, Upper Nicola Housing is seeking feedback to the Shia Place project. What are you hoping to learn from this feedback?
I'm hoping to learn to where the understanding of the community of what their um,
Reservations.
where
Their
it's a
hesitancy.
low income. It's a
Okay.
basically to them it really comes to be actually a low income rental units.
Right.
But right now it's not really, it doesn't really fall in that category where some of them don't feel like it is, because it's taken um, even though wherever they came before it was high, and then this is it just trying to make ends meet, so they, just a low income um, uh, system,
Yeah.
and when you get to a rental rate that is
Right.
fairly high, then you can't.
So you'll have some reservations, some hesitancy in connection with information that has to be shared in order to have a unit. There is reservations, some hesitancy in connection with costs, right? So it's obviously been, from the entire path from development to building to opening, a real learning experience along the way. And it sounds like you're still learning.
Yeah, because there was, the other thing about that also is because it's a little away from the rest of the core of the community, put
Yep.
it. So there's it comes to be accessible, like
Right.
so there. So we're is there going to be a community bus rent that goes up there for
The
for some of the ones that are
Yep.
needed? There, say
Transport.
I would move up there, but if I go up there, how am I going to get to A and B? So I got to find out how I'm going to get to A and B before I commit myself.
Transportation.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's kind of one of the keys, and then and also the other thing is look at as is contact. So if I can if I want a landline or some or is there
Yeah.
Wi-Fi or somewhere?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of indication that I could have?
Any other projects on the drawing board at this point?
No, not at this point. Or this well, there's some community members that what
Yeah.
they do is they come in and they go and individual homeowners. They don't
right.
want to. They go come in and
Yeah.
they go on. We go, trying to get them the first market housing.
Right.
They work with the bank,
Yep.
or if they don't have if they,
Those are individuals.
individuals, or
Yeah.
if they have the cash and they just
Yeah.
don't have the land.
Right.
And so so there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And there's so we're doing right now. We're doing 6 of them,
Right.
and then so
But you're also busy right now as well. You were saying to us renovation work. That's
renovation is is a real key thing, and that's what the renovations is. That's why I say that renovations that's going on now want it to be looking like the Shia place,
right.
that having that healthy home, and not only healthy home in the Shia place,
Yep.
it's a fire smart. It's got a property that around your home it's fire smart. So then in the community we're gonna do fire smart. So and the renovations what I did on the renovations, it was a really good thing to go to each home and sit with them and listen to them and what they all wanted and what their needs were. And it was a great opportunity to listen to each and
Yeah.
individual one and trying to put it to one key word that what they were looking for: be inclusive. So that's what this asset management and asset planner is designed to, is to go to every address and to come up with a data, a report, and say, okay, this report. So
Interesting.
by the time we even got to finish that asset planner and asset management, institutions are out there, because I was speaking on our behalf of our community, saying that, you know, you guys are coming along and you're telling us you pick 4 homes, 6 homes to renovate this year.
Mm.
Well, what are you doing there? You're separating the community already to start with, because who wants to be the one to say, okay, you gotta get it, you gotta get it, you gotta? No, 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 no. Yeah, you. So
There has to be a
so
quality of life.
when I was going to all these homes, that would have came, that inclusive, because it's all what they talked about. We were all inclusive before. We were all included before, but somewhere it went off the road, and so after listening to them, and this is one way of they're saying, I'm not going to go out there and try to pick 4 houses or 6 houses to go and renovate. I
Right.
want to do everybody's, and some of those homes some of them are ahead of the others, and there's some still got to catch up. So I'm trying to get them balanced all out, and so that so CMHC put up 40% of the renovations, and the band's got to put up their as a 60%.
Right.
And that 60% is not, it's the band, but the band has to, as a band, they have to find out which institution that you're going to go to now to try to pick up the 60%. And of course the band, of course, then we go look at ISK. So basically ISK knows that these are going to be 2 partnerships along with the band, or sometimes it could be an individual, because the individual could say, okay,
Sounds awfully complicated.
yeah, the individual could turn around and say, okay, I want to put contribution to my own home too.
Yeah.
I got some dollars that I. So if they put so there's always it's a good thing because then when a person puts up with their own own
Funds.
contribution, then it kind of helps, and then you could kind of make
Right.
it spread out, and the rebates.
So, housing, of course, is very, very complicated, but it's also very expensive. What do you think would be the ultimate solution to the housing issue in Upper Nicola?
Is to try to get all our addresses to a level that nobody is above nobody and nobody's below nobody, and basically it's like right off the bat I could tell you every roof has to be roofed by end of this year. So I had 28 homes to put roofs on, so we're pretty close to getting those done. By end of the season, they'll be all done, and then I go look at other things. So you've got to look at the the roofs because you can't do nothing under a roof unless that roof is fixed.
So housing it's a right, not a privilege.
Yeah, it's and the way I looked at homes. Well, I'm a red seal carpenter in trade, but also I looked at 1,000 years from now ago, 500 years ago, when our ancestors were out there wandering around and say, okay, this is where we're gonna camp for 2 months because this is where the food source is. When we pack up, there's nothing to be there to say that we were here. And so, as you travel the nation and you listen to all the people across the nation, you know, it's all they talk about. You know, when you're on a reservation. And to me, that's not a good way of thinking. The way I look at it as a home and don't matter where you live, if you're on a reserve, off reserve, cross country, other side of the world, a home is a home, and don't treat it differently like anywhere else. So it just once it gets to a certain place, and then take more responsibility to try to avoid those. And that's because that's what I always looked at, because I went and camped at these camps when I was growing up, and that's the first thing I started looking at is the deficiency in homes, the environment, and because they're combinations, because we don't know. Then the envelope, and the envelope is basically everything in the home. It's like your heating system,
Many aspects, many aspects.
many aspects.
Cliff, I wish we had more time. I got to tell you, we sure thank you for your service. It sounds like you have a real passion for to put people in homes that are healthy, safe, secure, and that a place to call home is something to be proud of.
Yes, be a homeowner.
Be a homeowner.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of UNB Live. Next guest is
We're going to have UNB Education Manager Charlene McRae here.
school is fast approaching, isn't it? The dog days of summer are upon us. From UNB Live, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, tell your friends. We have a motto here, the more the merrier. My name is Bob Price, Diana Boston. Thanks once again for viewing.
See you later.
Asli hai tam hula hai